works. Great. Hi, Scorpio. Thanks for joining me. I was a little bit worried that my camera had stopped working because for a while it did. So, Scorpio, I'm doing your July 2020 reading and I'm really happy to be here, very happy to connect with all of you again after such a long time. I recorded a general reading for July for all signs and that's uploaded already. So go ahead and check that out because it lays the groundwork for understanding this reading to come. And as such, I'm going to be keeping this reading brief because that one's quite long. So Scorpio, I'll be drawing one, maybe two cards from this deck. See how it goes. Unlike other decks, this deck usually likes to tell me which cards by simply, doing this. Tell me which cards to listen to. I'm very much exploring this deck. I'm still new to it, but really enjoying it. King of Chalices. Hey, we got this card. When did we get this card? Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's focus on your reading. But yeah, so this card has already come out once today for another sign. And I've spent quite a while actually talking it through as to what it could pertain. And so it's interesting because there's generally a lot of cups that are coming out. And with the King of Chalices, especially in this deck, the England Alchemy of England 1977 tarot deck, the illustrations are very dark. There's a lot of dark fantasy goth work here, and so a lot of the court cards are represented by like Grim Reapers, dragons as such, hideous looking figures actually that are meant to intimidate. So a lot of dark themes to really discuss. But all in all, generally speaking, dark themes don't necessarily mean bad readings, not at all. So I encourage you to look at the general reading because it will help you understand potentially the dynamics that have been occurring with the collective, because that reading I was really focusing on all the signs. It was a very general reading, and we discussed themes such as Venus retrograde, which a lot of people had, which we had all gone through for a couple of months, Mercury retrograde, a lot of planets in retrograde basically, asking us to introspect, reevaluate relationships in terms of Venus retrograde, potentially look at our communication styles with Mercury. And so a lot of emotional issues were coming up in that reading, especially as it pertained to decision-making factors and regaining or claiming control of our decision-making capabilities, basically. So not giving up our own powers to others, who may impose their beliefs onto us, whoever you may be. This isn't the case for everyone, but it's just that there's been a large focus towards, and rightfully so really, as we enter the age of Aquarius, a large focus on the group, on group dynamics, more so in the future than there is now. And as such, we were also discussing how that has had an effect on individuation and what it means for the self and what it means to be self-expressive and self-creative, to have the right to think for yourself, and where to draw the line. So with the King of Cups especially taking on a rather sinister demeanor here, when I look at this card, I see someone that's really struggled to express themselves appropriately. And I'm using the word appropriately because actually that's a rather vague word, and I don't want to dive into specifics because I don't feel that that's fair. Appropriately for you, so what you're usually used to, so the way in which you're usually comfortable expressing yourself is not the case now with this King of Cups coming out, and that could be due to a number of factors, such as spending a lot of time with the same people, and therefore needing to hold your tongue a bit more. This has been a theme, and it's coming up a lot in other people's readings as well, where some people aren't used to being around the same people all the time, because our liberties have been taken from us. We've had to endure a lot of restrictions, can't go out as much, can't socialize as much. That's all being lifted now, and so people are going out a bit more, but some people still feel a bit anxious and want to keep tight for now. So generally, we aren't afforded the luxury to, to be as liberal as we want, even with our thoughts. So, I mean, for me, for example, when I get a little bit frustrated, or when I feel like I've had enough of something, or that I've spent one too many hours working on something and I haven't taken a break for myself, and I feel like, oh, I'm suffocating between all four walls, going out for a walk by myself really helps me, not just, breathe new fresh air, but it helps me see things from a different perspective. And so that's what I mean by this feeling of suffocation and needing to watch what we say, right? So it might be, ooh, it's like something's crawling on me. So having to watch our tongue and what we say around people, because it's a bit harder these days to get away, right? You can't just, well, you can, of course, but, you have to be a bit more considerate. Like in some places, like in the United States, for example, a lot of hot zones in the US where you can't leave the house now or go to a public space unless you have a face covering. A lot of people don't like that. You already feel, you're suffocated enough at home, and only to go out for a breath of fresh air, and you have to cover yourself. So it leads us to wonder, like, how much longer can we put up with this? Scorpio, it's fair to say, that you have your fair share of trouble. Everyone's got their fair share of troubles, right? You're usually the one to actually give very sound advice to those in need. So usually people come to you for advice. But who do you go to when you are the one that needs advice, and when you're the one that wants to let off some steam, right? So it might have felt a bit harder for you to express yourself these days. Or if you have taken one too much liberties, let's say, with people, and have been expressing yourself a lot, or have been sharing what's been on your mind and what's been bothering you, you may have felt as though your partner's or whoever you're with at the moment hasn't been as receptive about it, or doesn't want to hear it anymore. Like, enough is enough. We don't have to talk about this every day sort of situation, which only leads you to lock up and not want to share, because it takes a lot for a Scorpio to share. It really does. And And Scorpios don't usually speak unless they want to, unless they really need to as well. So you usually take the brunt of everything, right? Until the very, very last minute when you feel like you're about to blow and explode. You might have only a few friends or family members that you can count on your hands, where you feel like you can always count on them, you can always go to them, and they're never going to judge you. No matter how many times you repeat the same situation. And I see this in myself as well, being a Scorpio rising. There are a couple of friends I'll always turn to, and I'll bug them about the same thing, literally, every time. And I will feel that, oh, that's a bit too excessive and I need to stop now. Because, you know, how different can their advice to you be? Right, if you just keep coming back to them with the same issue. So let's also have a look at the universal weight deck that I have here. So for you, there's the Chariot card in the reverse, basically to perhaps give a bit more context around what might be happening in your particular situation right now. So with the Chariot card in the reverse, your plans have very much been put on hold. And I really feel like a broken record, because for almost every sign there has been a situation pointing to stagnation, basically, one way or another, whether it's career, love life, I don't know, problems in the home, like just creative ventures, business ideas, travel plans. Everything's pretty much been put on hold for a lot of people. But with the Chariot card, this isn't minor. Not to say that the aforementioned is minor, so career is not minor. These things are usually not minor. But with the Chariot card also being a major arcana, there was a lot riding on this, a lot that was riding on a particular move that was being made. And with the Chariot card, there are these are fundamental shifts in your life, whereby one change acts as a catalyst for further change down the line. So it's a little bit different than just saying that I'm making a move in my career and just my career, or I'm making a move in my relationship and just my relationship, so my career is going to stay the same. With the Chariot card, when you make one move, this one move is such a big move that it inevitably cascades to pretty much every area of your life. So a shift in career inevitably means a shift in friendships and a shift in relationships, as well as a shift in your perspective. So it would have to be that significant, and for it to be reversed, that just means that it's on hold for now, just means that there are obstacles in the way, more than it means that it's never going to happen again. It just means that you should have already really set off on your journey now. You were so ready to actually pack your bags and go, metaphorically speaking. It doesn't have to actually indicate a physical move, but for some it certainly does indicate a physical move, right? And with the Chariot card, if you look at the background is yellow, and I always like to point out that this portends a lot of happiness, particularly in the future, because the Chariot moves in one direction, and that is forward, and keeps moving throughout the seasons, and nothing can really get in the Chariot's way once he or she sets off on their journey, because they've garnered so much strength within themselves that they've already even forecasted potential obstacles that may come their way, and have pretty much accounted for all the solutions that they will somehow spring, that they've got up their sleeves for anything that comes in their way. So there's a lot of planning that goes into that. It's a major event. And essentially, who wouldn't be frustrated, right? Who wouldn't be frustrated and borderline extremely angry, much like this dragon, if something like that was taken away from them? But of all the signs, Scorpio, you're probably one of the most efficient signs at dealing with this stuff. But perhaps in this particular time in your life, it's been a bit harder to talk about it because you want to talk about it. And it may be unfortunate that some people have made it a little bit difficult to lend an ear, right? So not to say that those around you are not lending ears, but that they may not be sympathizing, let's say, in the way that you expect, or they may not be looking at your situation as with the degree of seriousness that you really think it deserves, right? Or they might just be shutting you up a little bit too early, like midway through your conversation, where you're not done yet. Like, I was only halfway through my story. Like, I'm not done telling my story. And that can hurt. That can hurt. But most Scorpios have gotten to a point as well in their experience where they've gotten so used to it, right? Like that they don't even want to complain anymore. Oh, so I feel rather blasé actually about this, just because I am also a Scorpio rising, so I kind of see it as well, like in this reading, for myself. Though I don't mean to project too much of myself onto this reading, right? So Scorpio, that was your reading, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please, if you want to share any thoughts, feel free. I'm always here. If you would like to send me an email, the link for that is beneath this video. Give this a thumbs up. Have a look at the bell and see if you have activated that bell, because I have recently been getting comments that a few people have, or a lot of people have, missed out on previous videos that I've uploaded, and I'm not sure how that could have happened. Like, it must be a weird YouTube thing, because I was so inactive for a very, very long time. Might be my punishment, I don't know. So have a look at that, and I will speak to you soon. All right, take care. Bye.